Although Basim is an amazing assassin, the question still stands. Is Assassin's Creed Mirage a good Assassin's Creed game? Let's find out here. Welcome back to Nerdstorm Entertainment, everyone. Today we are going to be discussing my first impressions of Assassin's Creed Mirage. So if this is your first time here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and don't forget to ring the bell to receive notifications so that way you know every time I happen to upload a new video. And then if you enjoy this type of content, go ahead and like and share this video out to all your friends. With that out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about some Assassin's Creed Mirage. So first and foremost, I really want to thank Ubisoft for providing me a code for this game so that way I can actually play it in time to give y'all my first impressions of it. All right, so first and foremost, the hype surrounding this game was essentially that this game was actually going to be taking it back to the original style Assassin's Creed games, meaning the gameplay loop and the gameplay style was going to be very similar to the first Assassin's Creed. Although I do enjoy certain aspects of that, there are some other things that ended up bringing in that I didn't necessarily like. Now, did that hamper the game at all? No. Again, the game is still good, but these things tend to hold it back for me a little bit. So let's talk about a couple of those things real quick. So for anyone that happens to remember actually playing the original Assassin's Creed game, you remember the gameplay loop of going out, doing some investigations, sitting on the bench or following somebody and listening in to get some information so that way you can actually find your target. In Assassin's Creed Mirage, you do the exact same thing, but it's stepped up a notch. And this is one thing that I definitely loved about this game. In this game, yes, you still have to do certain investigations to actually find your target, but it's done in a way to make the system not feel so outdated. Just like the original game, what happens is you actually end up going to an assassin's bureau and actually getting some initial information about your target. From there, you actually have to go and do some research on your own, whether that's actually finding someone to talk to or listening in on some conversations. What I also like about this system is that you can also switch between different investigations very quickly by just holding the start button whenever you happen to be close to anything in particular that you're actually investigating. Also, just like in previous Assassin's Creed games, there was a lockpicking mechanic. Now, in previous games, you just held the pickpocket button and it just happened automatically. Within Assassin's Creed Mirage, what happens is you actually hit the button to start the lockpicking minigame, and then you actually have to time it perfectly so that way you're not noticed. I thought this was a nice addition and it made you feel a little bit more immersed in the game. Now, one last thing that I'll bring up that kind of ties in the overall gameplay loop being similar to the older games is the fact that parkour has gone back to the original Assassin's Creed style. And in my personal opinion, that was a misstep. As in most Assassin's Creed games, the parkour is still a bit clunky. But what Assassin's Creed Mirage happens to do, even worse than the original Assassin's Creed game, in my opinion, is that the fact that parkour has become a lot slower. Basim does not seem to move as fast as any of the other assassins that we've ever played as. Now, some may enjoy that, but others like myself just find that it just does not work. Not only do you not feel as smooth as an assassin should be, there doesn't seem to be no real difference between sprinting and moving at full pace. On top of that, even though momentum has been slowed down considerably, I still find myself getting stuck on different objects and finding Basim just not doing the things that I want him to do. There were countless times, like I said, that I ended up getting stuck, or Basim just ended up going in a completely different direction than I really wanted him to go. Now, again, this has been an issue in all Assassin's Creed games for quite some time, but I genuinely feel if they had have gone back to the Assassin's Creed Unity parkour style, this issue could have definitely been avoided. Now, yes, fans wanted a slower Assassin's Creed, but it did not need to be this slow. Now, let's talk about the overall feel of the game, what it looked like and it actually played like. So again, let's get some positives out of the way first. First and foremost, I want to say the music for this game is just phenomenal. Every time I was in the menu and I just listened to the music playing, it just took my breath away. I'm the type of person where I love video game music, so hearing something really good in my ears was definitely a plus. As I started the game and actually went through the different settings before I can actually get to play, there was this option to turn on the OG Assassin's Creed filter, which gave you that feeling of you actually playing Assassin's Creed 1. I thought that was a nice touch, but I think there was something that went along with that. Because there was so much hype around this game and all the fans wanting the Assassin's Creed series to actually go back to the original style of gameplay, I feel like they really wanted to hone that in with this filter. Not saying that's necessarily a bad thing, but I think that just added the icing on the cake for those fans. Now, at this current moment, I'm actually about 5.5 hours into the game. I've been to Baghdad and a couple of other places, so the map has actually only opened up a little bit for me, but when you zoom out and actually look at everything, the map does seem fairly large. Not as big as some other Assassin's Creed games, especially Odyssey, but again, still pretty big. So for those that enjoy wide areas to actually go and explore, you'll actually enjoy this. Now, as far as the negatives, there aren't too many negatives that I've seen so far, but there are certain things that I want to bring up. So for instance, there was a lot of flipping, especially during the cutscenes, of the clothes and different hair textures, a lot of them just not being in places where they should. And again, that's not a big deal. I know I'm just nitpicking. That is something that people are going to notice, so I thought I should bring that up. Another thing with the whole cutscene aspect is I personally feel that the cutscenes in this game are a bit clunky, and I've actually felt that way about previous Assassin's Creed games as well, especially Odyssey. Not only do they feel a bit clunky, but they just feel stiff, as if there's no real motion or motion capture behind the character. Now, I know there more than likely is, but again, it just looks very stiff to me, but that is my personal opinion. Lastly, let's discuss the AI real quick. Now, I will preface this by saying I am playing on normal difficulty, and yes, for those that want to get on me about, oh, you're only playing on normal, you can go ahead and do that, because that doesn't actually matter. All that difficulty changes is that the fact that the enemies hit a little bit harder. Now, essentially what I'm getting at is the fact that the AI in and of itself doesn't seem to be too smart. And what I found is that the AI sometimes did not look for me at all, or continued to just stand there. And when they did actually end up finding me and they actually attempted to fight me, all I did was swing a couple times and that was it. Now again, you can attest that to me just playing on normal difficulty to be able to get through the story, but as I said before, I turned up the difficulty and I did experience very similar things. Now, all of these issues that I found with the game can definitely be fixed with updates, but as it stands as right now, those are some of the things that are a little bit iffy in my opinion. Now let's get into the overall setting and story of the game. I will say this section may contain a couple of spoilers, so be aware. But first, let's get into the main city, Baghdad. So as some may already know, we are in 9th century Baghdad, and is one of the largest, most populated, bustling cities found in the Middle Ages. With fertile plantations around and highly active translating publications, the opposite city is the most important trade nerve center on the Silk Road, an attractive place for travelers, merchants, scientists, and scholars from the empire and far away. The historical context here of Baghdad definitely hammers in on the narrative-heavy gameplay that Assassin's Creed Mirage provides you. Now, besides actually going through the main story and doing your different investigations to find some of the different leaders in the order to actually assassinate, there are a multitude of other side activities that Baghdad offers, like world contracts that are small quests that can be completed, collecting mysterious shards throughout the city, kind of similar to other Assassin's Creed games where you had to find that one thing that you actually had to collect throughout the entire game. Except for in this game, like I said, it's a mysterious shard that's spread throughout the entire map and actually unlocks a special Isu gear. Now, as previously mentioned, this game does harper back to the original Assassin's Creed game, and again, that's either good or bad. It all depends on you. But what really makes this game different from the original Assassin's Creed game is that this game is very narrative driven. And what I mean by that is that this game is not driven by the XP grind that you may be used to, especially within the past 3 Assassin's Creed games. This game is all about the story. Yes, there are still things like character progression and skill points to be gained, but those things are few and far between. As far as character progression, how this game progresses you as a character is that Basim actually gains more power by upgrading assassin ranks and completing different story arcs. Like I said, as far as skill points are concerned, there's not that many skills to actually learn in this game. There's only a select few. The skill tree is very small. And again, the reason for this is because this story is very narrative driven. They really want you to understand and enjoy the story. As far as combat and navigation, it is very similar to the previous 3 Assassin's Creed games, that being Origins, Odyssey, and now Valhalla. You have a light attack, a heavy attack, and a parry, and a dodge button that you're able to lock onto your enemies and flow through combat that way. The Assassin's Creed games in and of themselves have never been that deep when it comes to combat, so I can kind of understand this game not actually upping the ante. They did happen to bring back the eagle, and this time your eagle's name is Akindu. Akindu does the exact same things that eagles in the past have done, so there's no real difference that he can do that other eagles in the previous Assassin's Creed games actually did. Again, you're able to use him to actually scope out different outposts and see exactly where enemies and different chests and other items are, so that way you know how you actually want to approach different fights. This game does happen to have a short self-contained story, so it's not that long at all. Again, I'm only about 5.5 hours in, and from the looks of it, I'm about halfway through the game. I haven't done too many side quests at this current moment. I'm just going through the story to get what the overall game feels like. So here are my final thoughts of everything so far. I do definitely understand that this game is heavily narrative driven, so it's not so much focused on gameplay, but it is there to give fans that more nostalgic Assassin's Creed feeling. And even though they took it back to the original Assassin's Creed gameplay style, I do feel like they did slow down parkour just a little too much, so the game just feels a bit slow to me, even though that is what it's meant to do. Again, it's not for everybody, definitely not for me as far as the parkour is concerned. Like I said, I wish they had at the very least implemented some form of the Unity parkour style, but that is just my opinion. With that being said, I'm definitely glad that this game was not priced at a full $70 because it was not worth $70. The game is priced at $50 and is definitely worth that $50. All in all, my personal score, I would give this game a 7.5 out of 10. And the main reason that I'm giving it a 7.5 out of 10 instead of an 8 is mainly because the parkour feels a bit too slow. Yes, I do understand that they were trying to go for that more nostalgic Assassin's Creed feeling, but they dialed it back a little bit too far. That being said, I want to know what your thoughts about Assassin's Creed Mirage. Let me know down in the comment section below whether or not you like the game and the different things that you may not like about the game. And then don't forget to go ahead and like, share, and subscribe, and then ring the bell to receive notifications so that way you know every time I happen to upload a new video. With that being said, y'all, I will catch you in the next video. Peace.